Housing is not just a roof over your head. It's the doorway to dignity and opportunity. Hello everyone and welcome to Fluxx Talks. My name is Anshu Jain and today we are focusing on a very important topic. What happens when people come home after being involved with the justice system? And why finding a safe, stable housing for them becomes such a big challenge? Well, housing is more than just a place to live. It's the foundation for building a new life, for reconnecting with family, finding work, and to staying in the positive path. But some people face serious barriers simply because of their past. Well, to take us through this crucial subject, it gives me immense pleasure to introduce you all to our guests today. Leslie Credle, the founder and executive director of Justice for Housing. Leslie, welcome to the show. It is such a delight and honor to have you here with us today. Well, I would want to understand why is it important to focus on housing justice-involved individuals rather than other populations?
Thank you. Thank you, Fluxx Talks, for having me today. Housing is key to a successful reentry. The barriers and the stigma that formerly incarcerated people face when returning from incarceration is a public safety issue.
Mm-hmm.
It can be also a health issue where people become homeless. They use the emergency rooms as a primary care physician. It causes recidivism, a revolving door. And so I chose to work on this topic basically because nobody else was doing it. Housing authorities have too much leverage. There's no accountability, and they have the discretion to discriminate at will. And nobody was challenging housing authorities in my state and in the country of US. So formerly incarcerated people were excluded from public housing and receiving housing vouchers since the 1994 crime bill, when President Clinton enacted his war on drugs. He also put in punitive housing policies that prevented formerly incarcerated people from accessing housing. So that's why I started working on this.
Yes, you're addressing one of the most important issues, which is basically the need of the hour. Because if we look at the complete scenario, it is not just about providing them, availing them with a safe, stable housing, but again, most importantly, it is about their mental health.
Mhm.
Well, before we dive deep into the subject matter, I would want to understand that what basically motivated you to be a part of this journey?
Basically, it's my calling. I'm formerly incarcerated myself. I did 5 years in federal prison. And while I was in federal prison, I lost my daughter, Bree, to gun violence. It's unnatural for a mom to lose a child, but it's also extremely unnatural to lose a child while you're locked in a cage. And that grief, that despair, knowing that mothers are being separated from their children upon release, and it became something of my higher power when when life takes something from you, it is replaced. And this became my goal, my mission is to reunite families and to keep mothers and daughters connected.
I guess you're one of the true examples of when we say, turning your pain into power.
Exactly.
And that is what is simply driving you, and you're able to help so many others. And this is such a noble cause that you're involved in. I'm pretty sure the journey has been not so easy for you.
No.
There are a lot of obstacles, there are a lot of hurdles. What is the biggest challenge that you're facing at the moment? If I may have to ask, or if you just look at the path, the journey that you have faced so far, what are the challenges that you faced along the journey?
Basically, the stigma of incarceration. Most landlords and housing authorities were reluctant to house formerly incarcerated people because of their past. It's a life sentence, basically. When you're released from prison, there's something called a CORI, which is the Criminal Offender Record Information Act. And what it does is it allows them to do background checks. And that is a way that housing authorities and landlords are able to discriminate without punity. So therefore, it creates extreme barriers for formerly incarcerated people to obtain housing, employment, workforce development, a lot of fields. So, but housing is the number one resource that is needed to have a successful reentry.
Well, as you rightly mentioned here, you just noted and quoted point, it is not just about housing. There are many more factors which are involved in the entire journey, in the entire process. Well, let's say they are handed over with the keys, it is being secured. But how do we ensure the long-term stability and safety of those individuals?
We created a model, which is the innovative model. It's called the Stabilization, Housing, and Reintegration Program, SHARP, we call it. And what that is we partnered with the Boston Housing Authority, Cambridge Housing Authority, Somerville Housing Authorities, and counting. And we created a model where individuals receive subsidy or Section 8 housing upon return. And then we provide them with wraparound services, which, like you said, housing is just the beginning.
Right.
Most folks have been incarcerated that we serve for over 10 to 40 years. And so you can imagine that this is their first time in an apartment. Our case managers stabilize, and we work with a lot of mental health and trauma. Trauma is the number one that affects formerly incarcerated people, dealing with the trauma from incarceration and reacclimating yourself back into society. Imagine never having an apartment, not knowing how to turn on your cable, how to pay your bills on side, your electricity. So we work with formerly incarcerated people that we house and get them acclimated, learning life skills, how to work with the landlord, how to live independently, and most important, family unification is my number one goal. And we work with Department of Child Family Services, which is another, I can say, area of focus that formerly incarcerated people face. 60% of the people who are incarcerated have a child in Department and Family Services, DCF, which when you're getting incarcerated, a lot of children end up in foster care. And one of the requirements to get your child back with the biological parent is stable housing. It's a requirement. And before Justice for Housing was founded, children were aging out of foster care because it was almost impossible to receive permanent housing for formerly incarcerated people. So we have housed over 650 formerly incarcerated people, but we have reunited over 89 families.
That's amazing to hear, because I was coming to this question. This was my point, basically, that you have collaborated with authorities. You are working in a model which is not just focused on providing them with the housing facilities, but then more, much more and beyond. It is about overall growth, development, ensuring that they're physically, mentally stable, alongside are availed with all the basic necessities of life, which a normal person should be provided with. Well, you already mentioned that how successful you have been. And I'm so glad to learn about your journey, and I wish you all the very, very best. But then here, I've got a very important question to ask. I'm aware of the fact that you've been invited by the White House twice. And if I'm not mistaken, you got a chance to discuss and work collectively with President Biden's Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, Marcia Fudge, and Demetria McCain, the Deputy Director of the Office of Fair Housing and Discrimination, on the new HUD rules. Now, I would want to understand that how did Justice for Housing get involved in this work?
It started when we worked with Harvard University law students, the Harvard Tenant Advocacy Program. One of the law students, Gabe Zimmerman, which is now an attorney. He was a law student at the time, but he now is past his bar, and he's our board chair now. Back then, Marsha was going to be at HUD, and he went to her class, and we worked with them to create we have a report that we came out with. It's called the Far From Home Report. And what it is, it talks about case studies, the collateral consequences that housing authorities have on communities of color, and the effects that happen from denying people housing, formerly incarcerated people housing. And we gave Marsha our report, and in that report is 12 policy recommendations. And 2 weeks later, we were meeting with her attorneys and her policy director, and she told us that they were working on new HUD rules to include formerly incarcerated people. And in the end, they adopted 6 of our policy recommendations.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Okay, but here's a question. Adoption is one thing. Has the government been supportive? Are they helping you out? And where and how do you see progressing after working with the authorities directly?
Yes, I do see progress. It wasn't always. It took us a minute to get the housing authorities to work with us. It took almost 2 years. It took a lot of advocacy, a lot of education, a lot of panels, a lot of focus groups, and outreach. And it wasn't until, I'd say, George Floyd. That's one thing I can say. He didn't die in vain. I don't know if his family is aware of this, but he opened the door for a lot of minorities and a lot of issues that were facing minorities that really caused a lot of harm in our communities. And it wasn't until that incident and his death happened that housing authority finally said yes to us. We had been advocating and asking them for 2 years. They never told us no. They always said us to think about it, but we were making progress. But it wasn't until then that they finally said yes. So what happened was the HUD rules passed. It took a while for them to pass, and it became federal law. Our policies became federal law without us filing one bill, which we are proud of. But once the Biden administration left office, we paused them. We didn't know what this administration, how it was going to be. And so we decided with HUD, our local HUD and our federal HUD, that we would pause and put the policies on hold until we felt it was a good time to reintroduce them. So right now they have passed. Have we had a chance to implement them? No. It happened at the end of Biden's administration, but they are federal law, and they are waiting to be reenacted.
All right. So the laws have been adopted. The government has been very supportive.
Yes.
But still a few changes that are required to be implemented in reality, from what basically I can understand, because the numbers are massive. The numbers are huge. And I believe that it is the basic right of every human to get back to a normal life. And they cannot simply suffer because of what has happened in the past with them. Right? Okay. Now this leads me to one of the most important questions. We have got a long history of policies that fuel housing discrimination, especially against FIP. What changes do you think that we need to take federally and locally to discriminate these barriers and prevent housing instability from being an extension of incarceration?
Well, one is to enact our HUD rules, which I can name a few, are, the look back period, the amount of time that someone can look back at your criminal record and use those years to look at your transgressions, I say. Another policy that we have is a no visit, no reside agreement, which is basically a no trespassing agreement where when public housing, if someone is arrested, and it doesn't have to be in the housing authority or in your home, just period. Housing authorities have a policy where they can evict you just for an arrest, and that needs to change. It is a lifetime ban that a household member will be removed from their home. So, for example, if you have, uh, say, a child 17, 18 years old, and they get into trouble, um, that family is separated. That mother and child is separated. That least household member, the housing voucher holder, has to remove that person from their lease, and they are told that they can't visit their mom for life. So Christmas, birthdays, holidays, you're not able to go to that household, and so that's um, it's not how people live. It's not reasonable. It doesn't make sense, and that is one of the policies that we are working to change. That lifetime bail, making it a step down period. And another area that we worked on is the preponderance of evidence. If you live in public housing and you have an open case, they can evict you before you're found guilty. So we want them to use the same standard, the preponderance of evidence that courts use, guilty till proven innocent, innocent till proven guilty, sorry. And we want them to adopt that policy if you have to go through the whole case before you can evict somebody from their household. Those are just, a few, but we have 12 recommendations. They are on our website, justiceforhousing.org. Our Far From Home report is on there, and you can look up and see all of the 12 policies that we came up with, including the 6 that HUD adopted.
Can I get a bit personal?
Mhm.
I know a lot of changes you're trying to implement in the system.
Mhm.
And I can see if you put in your heart and soul in the entire journey, in the entire process.
Mhm.
Because when there is a personal pain involved, when there is a personal loss involved,
Mhm.
the way we project and the way we move forward changes completely.
Mhm.
From what you made me understand of the changes which are required in the system,
Mhm.
you have been through this journey your own.
Mhm.
You have endured a personal loss as well, the loss of your daughter.
Mhm.
I'm not trying to dig deep, but I would want to understand. It is for the sake of all those who are going through the same journey.
Mhm.
Where do you see yourself today? And how do you feel today? How your life has bettered? And what do you believe still needs improvement?
I don't really look at today. I look at where I want to be, right? Um, for the future, my goal is home ownership, right? That's my area that I want formerly incarcerated people to become homeowners, not just live in public housing and receive housing vouchers. We want them to stand on their own, create generational wealth and equity. I'm proud to say that this year we got our first constituent to purchase a home.
That's amazing.
And
Congratulations.
thank you. And that is the second part of the SHARP program is after 18 months of living in public housing, after we get them employed and making a livable wage, we transfer them to our home ownership department where people are purchasing homes. And this year was our first year we got a success. So that's my goal. That's where I want to see all of our constituents that we have housed so far, and really creating something for the family generational wealth so that the children can inherit some equity and wealth.
Definitely. I believe while house would form the foundation and the base, this is going to be a biggest win
Mm-hmm.
if those can actually be entitled to house ownership.
Yes.
But apart from that, in the coming future, do you think that you would be coming up with programs that will allow the overall growth and development of all those individuals who have been impacted in the journey so far and would be entitled going forward to lead a normal life, which is actually their right?
Actually, it's happening.
Mhm.
We've seen it. It's happening. Once we stabilize someone, you can see the change. When someone's released, it's the worst time in your life, right?
True.
You're broken, you come home, and your spirit is just
Mhm.
not there. You were once the breadwinner of your family, and now you come home and you're a burden for your family, right? You're homeless, you have nowhere to go.
Mhm.
And so once we have housed folks, we've seen them progress and grow and really be successful. And that's what Justice for Housing is. I see myself working on a national model.
Mhm.
We'd like to have Justice for Housing in every state in the U.S. um, and really get other, I'd say, grassroots community organizations to adopt our work, right? And make something, um, provide opportunities for formerly incarcerated people to obtain housing upon release, which is the biggest barrier right now
Of course.
in the country.
That's so wonderful to hear. It was such a delight knowing about your journey, about the wonderful work that you've been doing. And we truly hope that Justice for Housing doesn't just stay limited to the US, but it becomes a global movement and is able to provide every single individual with the basic necessities that they are entitled to. I wish you all the very best, Leslie, and thank you so very much for joining us today.
Thank
you.
you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. But to all the wonderful guests who were connected with us on this segment that shed light on such a crucial subject, especially for people who have had a tough past, well, this session definitely will provide you with a lot of insight with all that is happening in the US right now, ensuring that they are able to lead a normal life. Now we've got something more exciting coming up with that. Stay tuned to Fluxx Talks. See you soon. This is Anshu Jain signing off. Thank you.